Speaker Mr. Chaudhary, Finance Minister Mr. Hasib, Mr. Reddy, Mr. Madhavan, all the participants today in this function. I'm the last speaker, so I think, I hope I don't take much time. I'll try to shorten my speech. But I feel like I'm in the parliament right now, because what happens is independent or individual parties, if you noticed, always get the last chance, number one. And number two, they're always told to hurry up. They're told 2 minutes, 3 minutes, speaker will say, she'll do. So the same thing happened to me today. So I feel, Mr. Madhavan and Sumitra Mahajan are the same. Nonetheless, I thank PRS for organizing this really wonderful program. I'll just get to the point. I was in the state government before, then I was in the assembly as opposition leader, then I came into parliament now because of certain reasons and things that happened in our family. And a lot of things have changed, actually. I look back and I see, I started my career when I first contested election when I was 27 years old, and I lost that election by 100 votes. Contested again at the age of 30, there was a by-election earlier, and I won, and then I became the finance minister then. And as Mr. Hasib was mentioning, exactly that happened to me. I was made the finance minister, and in 5 days I presented the budget. I had no clue what was there in the budget. So that's exactly how things function. It's quite sad. But nonetheless, it's been a kind of a journey for me. As they say, I had short-term courses in all these different areas. 1 year as finance minister, 4 years as leader of opposition, and now 6 months as a member of parliament. As I said, a lot of things have changed, not much in other things. Of course, my clothes have changed. In Shillong, we wear more of suit and tie. Delhi mein zyada kurta pajama chalta hai. I noticed when he was in assembly, the kind of debates and discussions we used to have were really short, I'll tell you. In fact, as opposition leader, my entire team would be behind me, and they'd say, you ask. And nobody wanted to participate. None of the MLAs wanted to participate. Even senior leaders didn't want to participate. And here we are in parliament now, and we just don't get a chance to speak. I was yesterday in parliament, and one of the members, his name is Mr. Tathagat, I think all of you know him, very interesting point he mentioned. He got up, and as soon as his question came, he got up and he said, Madam, I've been in this parliament for 4 terms. That's about 15 years. And this is the first time my question has come. It's a fact. After 15 years being in parliament, his first question came. So I think that's the difference. The size is different, just the kind of intensity is different. I'm here in parliament, and this session, of course, has been all about well management, if you know what I mean. And I've just been seeing people shouting and screaming. And then when I was there one day, I remembered a small story my father had told me when he was Speaker of the House. I won't name the gentleman. He told me that there was one guy who used to keep shouting. He said that when he shouted so much, he called him to his chamber one day. And he told him, Tum Videsh gaye ho? So he was actually, for some reasons, he wasn't allowed to leave the country. So that particular member of parliament said, Sir, main to nahi gaya kabhi. Jana hai kya? Sir, aap le jayenge to jaunga pakka. So my father said, 6 mahina chup rehna hoga. House mein halla nahi kar sakte. So theek hai sir, theek hai. And you won't believe it. That particular member of parliament didn't shout for 6 months. That's well management. So I think that's what parliament is all about. I think, at least as of now, I'm sure it's more about many more things. But that's my experience. That's been my experience as of now. As I said, back home in the assembly, it was totally different. As I said, there was not much of kind of information coming in. We had just limited days. And I totally agree with our member, Mr. Reddy, that I think that one of the suggestions which is very, very critical for us is to ensure that there should be a minimum number of days. I think that is absolutely necessary. But having said that, I must come to my main point, and which I must appreciate PRS for. And I told all the individuals, including Mr. Madhavan, the first day I met him, is that when I was opposition leader, I requested my speaker that, can you have a training session for my MLAs? I said, no matter how long the session is, if you don't have people who can speak and who can understand the issues and who can participate, there is no use having 50 days, 60 days, or 100 days session. It's like when I was finance GAD minister, I increased the number of working days. And there was a big halla against me. I showed the people that how many days we are working and we are not. And as GAD minister, I thought that we should need to increase the number of days. Only to realize that people started hating me. And I realized that unless we don't increase the work, there is no use of increasing the number of days. So similarly, there's no use of increasing the number of days the House functions unless we sharpen the members. The more the sword is sharp, the more it will cut with less effort. So I strongly feel the training of the members is absolutely necessary, and I really appreciate PRS for doing that. And I've encouraged and I've requested Mr. Madhavan that we should go to the assemblies also to do this. And only once we start doing that, I think we'll see more activity and more positive things coming out at the grassroots level. Having said that, I totally agree with the aspect of increasing the importance of assemblies and grassroots governance. Mr. Hasib was mentioning about how the panchayats, the budget is about 3 lakh crores. And yes, there are positive aspects to it, and there are negative aspects also. But I am a firm believer. Being from a very, very remote area of the country, which is right at the northeast, at the border of Bangladesh, sharing about 420 kilometers with Bangladesh, I'll tell you, sometimes the policies that are made don't apply to us because we are culturally different. We are, geographically different. Just to give you an example, we have, a ministry for empowerment for women. I come from a society that's a matrilineal society, and that's a matriarchal society. The youngest daughter gets the property. My daughter takes my wife's name. I have to go to my wife's house after my marriage. Do we need more empowerment of women in my state? I mean, just a small example. So there are many such issues, I think, only when we see the local conditions of different areas and cultures do we realize that diversity in India must be respected, and we must ensure that the policies really match with the requirements of the grassroots people. And that's when I feel that state legislatures, we have got autonomous district councils in our place, 6 schedules. These need to be strengthened. I'm very happy that the panchayat system also is being strengthened and is strong and is being strengthened more. More fund is being allocated. And of course, I agree with Mr. Hasib that you will see the states getting squeezed in between. But I guess there will be some fallouts of that, because I personally feel that at the end of the day, the delivery mechanism must be strong. The amount of money that is being spent must be spent with more efficiency. So if that has to be done, somebody is going to lose in the middle. Some people are going to face some difficulty. But I feel the public at the end will get what they're supposed to get, I think in a more efficient manner and maybe in a faster manner with more output at the end of the day. Another suggestion that I would like to make, of course, is in the past 6 months what I've seen in Parliament is that there are a lot of groups that are active outside Parliament for members of Parliament. So it's not just in the House, but I think if members of Parliament can be active outside the House, participate with organizations that are doing good work. There are a lot of NGOs, there are a lot of private bodies, there are a lot of groups, they don't have a definition, but they're just groups, they are doing a lot of work. I met some individuals who are lighting up houses in Ladakh and Leh, and they just simply go and they just like to do it. So they go and they stay and sleep over for 3 nights, 4 nights in Ladakh, Leh, and they light up houses out there. And they've given power to about 35 villages like that. So, I'm tying up with that group. and I'm asking them, why don't you come to my constituency? So I think it's not just within the parliament, but I think if members can be active outside parliament with groups like these, I think it would make a lot of difference also. Coming to policy issues, I think there are some issues. I'm sorry, I'm just jumping from one point to the other. There is no flow in my talk. It's because I've been given a very difficult subject. But I must mention here that when the functioning of the assembly takes place at the legislative level, I agree with our speaker when he mentioned about the anti-defection law. At the same time, I also would like to stress that the parliament and the constitution was amended to have minimum ministers in small states, or in fact on all the states. I think these aspects need to be really looked into also. Stability in smaller states is far more difficult. The politics when it comes to smaller states is far more than the politics we see in parliament. My state of Meghalaya has not had a single party government for the longest time, number one. Number two, there has been no chief minister who has, or there have been only two chief ministers, now the third one, who has survived an entire term. We have, in the last 40 years, 45 years of our statehood, we have had 28 chief ministers and 28 governments, obviously. So, these problems are there in almost all the small states. So I think legislations to ensure that these aspects are looked into is also, I feel, very critical. So whether it's the anti-defection law, maybe needs to be strengthened and improved to some extent, minimum number of ministers in the cabinet. At the same time, I think I'm definitely, agreeing with our speaker when he mentioned that sometimes speakers are always found in the wrong, situation, in the sense that they are blamed for a lot of the things that are happening. But I think there are political pressures also on them. So I think, a model like the UK, where the speaker is allowed to be independent and no contest is there for the speaker, I think we could actually look at these areas also. It's quite interesting to learn about that fact that in UK you don't have, once you're a speaker, you are uncontested in the next term. So I think it allows the speaker to really be neutral and work. So I think these areas we can look into, and there are many more points, but we have heard so many wonderful speakers out here. I don't want to, extend our program and our discussion anymore. Just wanted to share these few thoughts with you. And once again, I thank PRS for organizing this wonderful program. Actually, I'm sorry, I have a flight to catch, so I'm really hurrying up. But thank you once again.